Gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Dr. Karen Stout.
Good morning. What day is this anyway? It always amazes me at Dream to see a full room at 7:45 in the morning and everybody engaged and already looking at the day's agenda. We have a terrific plenary session this morning that I'm looking forward to. It really kicks off a day where most of the sessions are tracked around the teaching and learning topic. So we have a variety of sessions for you. And I would also remind you of the session that was added this morning around issues of immigration. So just remember that it's not in your program. It was a separate flyer that was in your packet. So at a time when college costs continue to increase and we are pressured to help our students succeed when they transfer and gain skills so that they're successful in the workforce, our community colleges are essential in keeping college affordable and preparing workers for high-growth jobs in our communities that provide a pathway to financial stability and opportunity for them and their families. To help ensure that community colleges meet these critical challenges, we have to significantly increase the number of students from low-income families that achieve degrees and credentials. We talked about that in the opening plenary. We talked about moving with a new access and completion agenda. There was a recent report by the American Council of Education that talked about the drop in the number or the percentage of students from low-income families that are enrolling in higher education immediately after high school. There was a decline between 2008 and 2013, the first decline of its kind in generations, and it's something that's troubling and should be worrying all of us. And when low-income students enter our colleges, their likelihood of persisting and attaining a post-secondary credential is significantly lower due to any number of pressures, and we talked about those yesterday morning in the plenary, the life and logistics issues that face our students, the challenges that face our students that are around financial pressures and family responsibilities. There are two brochures in your registration packet that I hope you take time to read if you haven't browsed through them yet. The first one is called Financial Health and Community College Students, Choosing and Using Quality Products and Services. And then the other one is Progress, Campus Profiles, and Preliminary Lessons from our Working Student Success Network. In one of these brochures, we narrow down some of the challenges that our Working Student Success Network colleges and their students are facing. There are three primary challenges, all around financial security. The first, the ability of students to manage cash flow and the volatility of their income, and managing that while they're managing their academic schedules. The second, a lack of a financial cushion. We know that many of our students are one financial emergency away from dropping out of college and potentially staying out of college. And the third is the ability to access and build credit. So all three are financial challenges that our colleges have to step up and help our students address. Achieving the Dream has partnered with One Main Financial to establish an annual award that recognizes an institution that helps students gain solid financial footing in order to succeed in college and in life. And our winner this morning is changing the college culture and building strategic support systems to support low-income student success and completion that supports the economic success of their students. One Main has had strong ties to their local communities that date back more than 100 years, with a strong commitment to the neighborhoods where their employees work and live. They focus their efforts on engaging their employees in their communities, charitable giving, and financial education. which is why the partnership between Achieving the Dream and One Main Financial is so important. To present the 2007 Achieving the Dreams Community College Financial Empowerment Award, sponsored by One Main Financial, I am pleased to welcome Tony Brand, the Managing Director of Communications at One Main Financial, to the stage to present the award to this year's winner. Tony?
This is actually heavier than it looks. Thank you, everybody. I am actually very proud to be here representing One Main at this amazing event. Just the enormous amount of people and the pride and the energy in the room is just overwhelming. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be here for One Main sponsoring this great award. The Financial Empowerment Award recognizes a college for outstanding achievement and innovation in developing and scaling an effective financial empowerment program. I am pleased to announce, as you guys have already said, that the second annual Financial Empowerment Award is going to Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. Founded in 1912, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College is a two-year public college that provides education training and lifelong learning opportunities for individuals and businesses throughout Northeast Wisconsin. With campuses in Green Bay, Marionette, and Sturgeon Bay, NWTC serves over 32,000 students each year through more than 200 degree, diploma, certificate, and apprenticeship programs, as well as contract training for over 1,100 businesses. In 2014, 93% of NWTC graduates reported employment within 6 months of graduation, and 80% of those graduates found employment in their career field. Now, that is really an amazing statistic and something that you guys should be very, very proud of. NWTC has been committed to lifelong learning that transforms, strengthens, and inspires its students to succeed. And it provides them with over 600 scholarship opportunities for current and future NWTC students through the NWTC Educational Foundation. With that, I am honored to present the recipient of this year's Achieving the Dreams Community College Financial Empowerment Award, with support from One Main Financial, to the team from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College. Will President Ron and the team from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College please come up and get your award? You're standing right here. Congratulations. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is a tremendous honor and recognition by One Main, and we certainly appreciate your support. You know, I was tempted to say to you that each of you should take out your wallets, take all the money out except for $5. Now I want you to spend the day in San Francisco and get around on $5, and that covers all of your meals, all of your transportation. And then about in the middle of the day, you're going to run out of gas. Now you have to decide, are you going to buy gas for your car, or are you going to have dinner tonight? Those are the decisions that many of our students have to make day after day. And I think it's hard for us to really experience that. I was recently through a poverty simulation. I was given $30 of Monopoly money, which normally I have millions of dollars of Monopoly money when I play Monopoly. But nevertheless, I had $30 worth of Monopoly money. And I went from there to get my unemployment check. But I was told that to get the unemployment check, I had to have gone to try to work. So I went to applied for a job, and I told, no, I got to go to a community college. Went to the community college, and they said, well, that costs $30 for the application. And that night, I had no place to sleep. The feeling of helplessness is profound. Where do I go, and what do I do? So at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, we said to ourselves, We cannot have a student stop going here because they don't have enough food to eat that night. That student that says to us, the last week of the month I eat crackers so I can go to school. That can't be. We cannot allow that. They made the best decision in their life. They decided to come back to school, and we have, I believe, a moral obligation to make sure that they can do that and be successful. And it is institutions such as One Main and others, and in our case, our employees, of which 90% of our employees give to the college year after year, to make sure that our students are successful. Thank you again very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pam Ettinger, the president of Bunker Hill Community College and the newest member of the board at Achieving the Dream. It is my pleasure this morning to start you off with some caffeine in the form of two amazing students. We have two student speakers this morning. Jesus Suarez from Cuyamaca College, followed by MacDonald Taylor Jr. of Delaware County Community College. If I can have them join me here. Right before I started coming into the room, Jesus stopped me, and so did Mac, and they wanted to know who's going first. And I told them whatever they say will be on the test at the end of the session. But I was touched by what Mac said to me. He said, you know, until I came here, I did not know the complexity of the work that goes on behind my going to school. So they are here not only to tell you that they're a symbol of their student peers, but that you are inspiring them as they're inspiring you. So Jesus, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to start. I am from a long line of hard workers, joyous and triumphant as hard workers tend to be, and it is from their love and effort that I have come to be. I am from the strive to break down walls, not erect them, to bring forth unity, not division. From the cause to persevere against the wave of ignorance and fear, and to create the world we envision. I am from where friendship and kinship help you brave the fiercest storms, and cooperation helps you build a whole new world. Hand in hand we face the smite. Hand in hand we rise to the sky, leaving behind an echo of life and a model of unity that no one can deny. Together we face our fears. Together we stand when others may not. And it is because of my friends that I have survived. I am from the creation of the Agora of Cultures, where the student voice may assemble and rejoice. I am from sitting in committees to ensure shared governance is met. I am from ensuring student rights through incorporating Vox Populi in the campus mindset, and creating safe spaces for you and for them, for any gender-neutral student that does not exclude you based on race or faith, where students support each other and embrace differences, not divisions. It is my desire to see my campus glowing with overflowing diversity. But it was not light that brought this life pursuit, but the view of pain and wishing others felt not the same. I am from a heart that bleeds at simple pricks, the wounds of others' uncareful tongue slips, whether it be my clothes or my melanin gift. I've always endured the worst of the whip. Mock me for who I am, mock me for who I apparent to be, mock me for what flag my heart bleeds, mock me for whom I love and choose to be. I follow no false king, and I raise my own standard. I've burned all their effigies, and I've set my own standard. I am from a spark of sun whose rays formed an arc of prismatic light, a rainbow, a life, a vow of pride to a once suppressed and often depressed soul whose spark finally shined after I emerged. I am from the taunts, I am from the tears, I am from the soul hardened to steel. I am from the resolve to be my best, to show the laughs they shall not best, to turn this fire into blaze, to bring forth the dawn of a new age. I am from hope, I am from love, I am from the dream of what I am to become. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this amazing opportunity, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Achieving a Dream, Delaware County Community College, and my lovely wife, Shanoa. I am from an elderly and young parent household, where at a critical age, my parents separated. My father's health beginning to fail, choosing life over death with mechanical assistance. I am from where the local public school was so barbaric that I was fearful. I got a job and paid tuition for Catholic high school for peaceful learning. I am from a hood in Philly. Diversity was lacking. My family was one of 3 black families on the block, where my brother and I were the only black kids. I am from the smell of Pats and Geno's, battling which cheesesteaks are better. I am from John's Water Ice that cools you in 100-degree heat. I am from Federal Street, where the best pretzels are baked, leading to my obesity and diabetes. I am from where snitches get stitches. No snitching is a street rule. I am from the courtroom where I snitched. Death threats were real, where the DA did not care after the conviction. I am from fear, where the little white lie led to a mortgage fraud conviction. I am from an 8x12 jail cell. Privacy was a dream. Slavery was now legal. I am from where freedom did not reign. God gave me a life partner, my wife, Shanoa, who cheerleads my every step, partners with me to care for our 4 children, Sean, Jasmine, Amina, and Monet. I am from where people like my spiritual mom prayed, the late Bishop Weatherby prayed, my pastor Robert Frontel prays for my success. I am no longer from my past. I am from forward progression. Now I am free, no longer a statistic, free to learn. I am from Delaware County Community College. Mentors and professors like Dr. Mickens, Keely Wallace, Christopher Neal, Tanya Gardner, Joan Bradwell, and many others devote themselves to ensuring my success, working to ensure that students are the future. I am from my past, where my story can help others succeed. I am from a community where love will always trump hate. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our version of America. This is our version of the American dream. And now we will turn the stage over to this morning's plenary discussion. And if I can have Dr. Tia Brown McNair join me on the stage. Dr. Tia Brown McNair is the Vice President an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Student Success with the Association of American Colleges and Universities. She has the lead role in advancing the association's projects and meetings on student success and making excellence inclusive. She also leads the development of the Community College Roadmap at the association. Prior to joining AAC&U, Dr. McNair served as the Assistant Director of the National College Access Network. And in addition, she has held roles with the National Science Foundation, the University of Charleston, the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission, and West Virginia State University. And on this next part, I would like our students to note the importance of moving forward and transfer. She earned her undergraduate degree from James Madison University and holds a master's from Radford University and a doctorate from George Washington University. She is the co-author of a new book, Becoming a Student-Ready College, which flips the conversation to provide a new perspective on creating institutional value and facilitating student success instead of focusing on student preparedness. So please welcome Dr. Tia Brown McNair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to see you too. Well, good morning. Thank you to the students. Thank you so much. Every time I have the opportunity to hear from students, it reminds me of why I spend so much time out on the road. It's because of the work and the things that we need to do to support your success. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. I remember being at a convening at the White House, and the students told us very clearly, don't have a conversation about us without us. And the point of that is to make sure that the student voice is clear. Their stories tell us about the work that we need to do to support their success. So for those of you who have the opportunity to engage and to listen to them and to hear their stories, take that knowledge and let's do something about it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we engage faculty as active leaders of change? And I just want to thank Karen for inviting me here, and Rachel. It's always good to be here. AAC&U is a partner with Achieving the Dream. They come to our conferences, we come to theirs. We know that together and through collaboration, that's the only way that we're going to do this work and to move forward. And that's important for us to realize as national associations, as leaders of the work going forward. So we're going to have a conversation today, as much as we can with 2,000 people in the room. We're going to have a conversation. My colleagues are going to come up and they're going to give you practical strategies and ideas, that things that have worked with them to promote faculty agency and innovation and change on their campuses. We're going to raise questions about what you need to do on your campus to support student success. We don't have all the answers. But we want you to take the questions, have the conversations, engage with each other, and think critically about the work moving forward. Because at AAC&U, we focus on the quality piece. The Association of American Colleges and Universities, we focus on quality. And through Liberal Education and America's Promise, we're the leading national association doing that work. And when we say quality, we say liberal education, America's Promise. And not just liberal arts, regardless of the credential, regardless of the degree, students need to have the breadth and the depth for them to understand how to succeed, to be prepared to succeed in life, in work, and in citizenship. We know at AAC&U, and we say it over and over again, that completion without quality is an empty promise. And that is not the promise that we have for our students today. So let's have a conversation today. Let's share some ideas. Let's have the discussion. And I hope that you hear some things that are going to prompt you to think about what do we need to do next to elevate our work on our campuses. So faculty, let's start from some basic principles. If you see, I made little note cards up here. We're going to do some key words. And these words are going to be associated with what you're going to hear from the panelists. But let's start from the basic principle. When we talk about faculty, we always like to divide faculty into different groups, don't we? Oh, this is where you talk to me. This is where you have the conversation. Don't we like to divide faculty in different groups? Yes, we talk about adjuncts, we talk about part-timers, we talk about full-time, tenure track, non-tenure track. Don't we do that all the time? We also do it with students. Don't we do this with students? We use the terminology at risk, underprepared. Don't we say those terms? Do students want to be classified as at risk or underprepared? Then can we stop using that language? Can we stop using that language and actually talk about students being underserved? We say underserved at AAC&U, and we say it with our partners because of what reason? Why do we say underserved? Because of what? It puts the responsibility on us as educators to better serve our students. So we're going to talk about the work that we do with underserved students. But when you have the conversation about faculty, the same principle presents itself. If we want to engage all faculty as leaders and in part of the solution and part of the change process, can we actually try to box them in to say, you're an adjunct over here, you're an assistant professor over here, an associate professor over here, a full professor over here, and we have the hierarchy. I know that I'm talking some dangerous things here. I know it, but I get to leave right after this. I'm talking some dangerous things. But we need to have, language matters. Language matters, and engaging faculty and creating leaders of change means that we have to embrace and be inclusive in our work about teaching and learning. And all of the people on your campuses, all of the people that engage with teaching and learning, they play a role in supporting student success. And if we really want to get straight and we want to talk about inclusion and we want to talk about inclusive excellence, we can't do that without finding out what we mean by exclusion. We have to have those conversations. They are important. So when we talk about faculty, let's figure out how we can focus in on what we talk about in the book on becoming a student-ready college, a new culture of leadership, that everyone plays a role. Everyone plays a part in supporting student success. And we need to figure out how to get everyone at the table and engaged, whether you say as an adjunct faculty member, whether it's a part-time faculty member, whatever. We need to have those conversations if we're going to build a new culture for student success. We say at AAC&U, we have lots of conversation about general education. Those of you, how many are familiar with AAC&U? Because I just skipped over that. Good, okay, great. So with AAC&U, we talk a lot about general education and the work that needs to happen in general education. And we released a publication called General Education Maps and Markers. And in that, we had 5 principles to support student success. We talked about them developing proficiency, self-direction, agency, transparency, problem-centered learning, and then we talked about equity. Let's go back to the agency part for a minute. I was at a campus, a community college, as part of one of our projects, and they were reading the book, and they were having conversations about agency, and we were focused in on what students need to do. How can our general education design promote student agency? And the provost called me later on, and he told me, he said, Tia, we also had the conversation about what it means for our faculty to have agency, for our staff to have agency. They came up to me afterwards, and they said, we spend so much time focused on the students. What does it mean if I feel that I don't have agency, that I can't be innovative, that I can't be a leader, that I cannot be creative in what I need to do to support student success? How do we, as institutions of higher education, create an environment that promotes faculty agency? What incentives need to be there? What motivation, what support mechanisms need to happen for us to create a system of faculty agency? What does that look like on your campus? What does that mean for supporting student success? You need to ask and answer those questions. And how do your structures, your policies, and your procedures actually align to support student agency? And a faculty agency as well. Those are the questions that we're going to ask and answer today, or we're going to start the conversation here. Culture. Culture matters. The institutional culture matters. from moving our work. We say a lot at ACNU, and we have seen others say it too. How do you move the conversation from my work to our work? From being isolated here as one sole faculty member to drawing in the goals and responsibilities and the intentionality of the strategic vision for student success. What does that culture look like? We say at ASNU, we have a document called Committing to Equity and Inclusive Excellence. And it's a self-study, it's an assessment guide. And the first two principles are these: know who your students are. So I want to challenge you for your institutional culture when you're talking about faculty agency and development. Who are your faculty members? What do they need to support student success? What type of development needs to be there? And then the second principle is to have the frank, hard dialogues about the climate for underserved student success. We also need to have the frank, hard dialogues about the climate for faculty success. We need to figure out what is going on in our campuses. What can we do better? What can we change to support the success of our faculty members and to build their capacity to do all the things to promote student learning and success? We talk about intentionality. And you're going to hear my colleagues today saying that as faculty leaders, they had to focus in on the strategic vision for success. They had to figure out their roles and their parts and their responsibilities because it's a shared commitment to student success. It's not something that can be done in isolation. And it's not something that just happens because we're institutions of higher education. We have to ask and answer the question about what does it mean for us to be intentional to support success for our students and for our faculty and for our staff. What does that look like? How can we tie the work that we're doing and make it collaborative and make it integrative and make it supportive of the work of the collective whole? We have individual responsibilities, but we have a collective responsibility for student success. What does that mean for faculty engagement? These are the questions that we're going to ask as part of this panel this morning. You hear a lot of talk about guided pathways. We say guided learning pathways because this goes back to the question about quality. If a student completes a degree and they cannot write, they cannot have strong oral communication skills, they're not a critical thinker, they're not problem solvers, have we done that student a disservice? We have. We've done that student a disservice. So we have to figure out where the learning piece fits into the structural components, the academic and the social supports for success. And I'm happy to say that you're going to hear from our colleagues today about how they're doing that, how they're embedding the learning piece solely and supporting the work of the faculty members. Because when we say about the learning pathways, and part of the work that we're doing at ASNU is funded by USA funds, and if Lorenzo, I don't know if he's in here or not, has funded us, and with Great Lakes as well, and we're doing a project where we're focusing on completion with a purpose. Completion with a purpose, because what happens is, a lot of times, our students don't even know the learning outcomes. We haven't been as transparent as we possibly can be with them. So I have a question, and those of you who've seen this, don't answer. Don't answer the question if you've seen this. We did last year, as part of our centennial year at ASNU, a member survey. And we asked the question, of the institutions of our membership, how many of you have intended learning outcomes? So, what do you think? Out of 100%, what do you think? How many of you what do you think the response was? 80? 100? What do you think? I got 80 and 100 over here. I don't hear anything from over on this side. What do you have? 20. Okay. So the answer was 85%. 85%. Now the next question we asked was, how many of them reported that their students actually understood those learning outcomes? Oh, look, I got 5% over here. I got 5%. And again, this is a circle of trust with 2,000 people. No one's going to talk about this outside of this room. We got 5% over here. Okay, what else? Over here, you want to make a guess? 10%, 15. Okay, the answer, if I can get this to work, 9%. So by a show of hands, and this is the circle of trust part, how many of you have institutional learning outcomes? Okay. And your faculty members can rattle them off like that, right? Okay. So I'm going to challenge you to something. I'm going to challenge you to something. I know it always gets a big laugh. It always gets a big laugh. I'm going to challenge you to something. Instead of just having the institutional learning outcomes or your GE learning outcomes just for accreditation, let's take them off the shelves and tie them to what happens in the classroom and be more transparent and relevant for student success. Let's do that work because we know at AAC&U and we know with our partners with Achieving the Dream that the work that we're doing going forward is preparing students. If we focus on learning, if we focus on teaching, and we focus on what happens in the classroom, then we're preparing students for success. But we need to help make the connections for them. Just like we need to build your capacity, we need to build the students' capacity. So here's just a little slide from this. I'm only going to show this one or two. Is the learning outcomes that at least 5 employers rate as very important. The students are the lighter orange, the darker orange employers. This shouldn't surprise you, right? Do we make the connections between what we actually ask students to do when they participate in the high-impact practices, they participate in service learning and undergraduate research, to how that is preparing them for their success? That's a part of faculty development engagement, helping faculty make those connections, and not just the faculty members who are full-time, but especially the faculty members who are part-time, adjunct, however you want to describe them, but we're all faculty members. We need to make those connections for students. We also need to look at this one. Many of you probably have seen this. Employers say they're much more likely to consider hiring recent college graduates who've completed an applied learning or project-based learning experience. Look at that, 94%, 87%, 80%, 69%. This shouldn't be surprising because you're already doing the work. We have to help make the connection and build the capacity for all of our faculty members to understand the direct connection for what it means to have a guided learning pathway for student success. And the good thing is that there's going to be a report that's coming out from Achieving the Dream in April, right, Rachel? That was done by the Public Agenda. Funded by the Gates Foundation, where they got together some focus groups, where they talked with people, faculty, staff, administrators, engaged in developmental education as a key component on that guided learning pathway to success. And they talked about what it means to have a culture of innovation on campus. What does it mean to create an environment that actually supports faculty, creativity, and success? I hope that you look for that report in April because it is extremely powerful to address some of the key questions about developmental education and the environment and the structures and the policies that need to be in place to support that work. And it's not working anymore. There we go. The high impact practices. You've heard these, you know these. We're going to talk to you. We're going to share some evidence-based strategies about the high impact practices. Again, this list is not inclusive of everything that you're doing. And everything up here is not always high impact. I want to make that clear. I want to make that clear because I think that that's a misunderstanding when we talk with faculty across the country. They come to us and they say, but you said it was high impact. You told us that was high impact. Just because it's high impact based on the evidence that we have, does that mean that it's high impact on your campus? No. You need to figure out how to do it well, and you're going to hear from what's happening at Brookdale Community College and how they're creating and making it pervasive. across multiple departments the high-impact practices that support their student success. I think this is gone. We're just going to, it's just, I think that it's, yep, there we go. Capacity. We need to have the conversation about capacity. What needs to happen for faculty to have the capacity to do the work that I'm just talking about, the questions that I just raised? What does that look like on your campuses? What developmental opportunities need to happen? What collaborations need to exist? We're going to ask and answer those questions this morning. Value. How many of you probably think I'm talking about college value? No? Oh, you're good, AAC and you. They do the value rubrics. How many of you use the value rubrics? The valid assessment of learning in undergraduate education. They were developed by faculty members like you all across the country. This morning in Inside Higher Ed, we just released a report on the next phase of work for value. And it gives you evidence of what is happening across multiple campuses in multiple states and how they are directly assessing student learning and how faculty are engaged in the conversation to figure out whether or not students are developing proficiencies across the curriculum. So we need to have this conversation. And if you have the opportunity, please look at Inside Higher Ed. It's a report on what 92 institutions did in Minnesota, in the Multi-State Collaborative, a partner with SHIO and Great Lakes. We collected over 21,000 student work products, actual work products. And we examined their critical thinking skills, their written communication, and their quantitative literacy. And the faculty members engaged from all across these sectors, 2-year, 4-year institutions, to figure out whether or not students are developing proficiencies. This is the capacity that I'm talking about that we need to build to support teaching and learning, centered on what students can actually do, what they actually are focused on, the work products they create, and what faculty actually say and evaluate and assess about their work. We need to put that at the center of our definition of what student success actually is. Because completion without what? Quality is what? An empty promise. And we need to put that. That's why quality is so important to the work that we're doing. And you will see that the assignments were designed by faculty. They were scored using the rubrics to meet all the central learning outcomes. And then the faculty judgment was at the center of the work because you're the experts. You're the experts. And you know what it means to be a critical thinker and to have strong written and communication and oral communication skills. I'm going to close with this part so I can bring my panelists up. We cannot have a conversation without talking about equity. It's not the last thing, it's the first thing, it's the middle thing, it's everywhere. We know that the inequities persist. We know that the gaps aren't getting smaller. They're either staying the same or they're widening. But we also can't have the conversation about equity without understanding what it truly means. You don't know how many times I go to a campus and I ask them, what does equity mean? And they give me the definition for equality. When you are talking about equity and you're engaging in conversation about being an equity-minded practitioner, don't let people throw that term around. Don't let people throw around the terminology of equity, equity-mindedness, and inclusive excellence. And without you saying, well, what do you mean by that? Because when you get to the heart of what it means to be an equity-minded practitioner, to have an equity-minded pedagogy, you are doing some deep work on addressing the why and the how behind student success. You're asking the question, you're asking about implicit bias. You're asking about your assumptions for underserved students. You're asking and examining your policies and your practices and your procedures on your campus. I am challenging you today. I am challenging you to do not let the paradox of equality that we believe in so as a foundation of America, do not let the paradox of equality hinder your efforts to disrupt the inequities in education. Do not let that happen. You have the power. You have the power. You have the privilege. You have the opportunity because you are the educators. You're the leaders to address equity as core to our values in higher education. Because we cannot be in a situation where some students do not get a quality education and others do. That is not an option for us if we're thinking about success. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a tad bit passionate about this. Just a tad bit. Because I started out in TRIO. I started out as an outreach counselor working with students, and I understand and I hear their stories every day from the work that I'm doing. And I want you to think about, we want to applaud you for the work you're doing. We want to say we're lifting you up as faculty. But we need to be change agents. We need to be change agents because what we're doing now is not good enough. It's not. We need to push each other a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more to support student success. And I am just happy that I have the opportunity to work with Rachel and to work with Karen and to work with my colleagues that you're about to hear from, because they're going to take these concepts and these ideas that I just talked about, and we're going to now have a discussion about practical strategies, because they are all amazing leaders on their campus. On their campuses, they are leading and doing the work that I'm talking about. So I want to invite you into this conversation, this intimate conversation that we're about to have about their struggles and their successes and what it looks like on their campus. So I want to invite them to come up, and we're going to have a conversation that we hope that you learn from, that sparks some ideas and some concepts to support the very students that we heard from this morning, because they're the reason that we're here. They are the reason that we're here. And when we say becoming student ready, that's what drives me all the time. I want to be ready, not for the students I think I should have, but for the students that I actually have the privilege of getting to know when I travel across this country. So I just want to say thank you for that, and let's have a conversation. Thank you. Good work, Tia. All right, so let's see. Now I'm going to come down a little bit. It's getting hot up here. I want to give you first the opportunity to introduce yourselves, and I want you to, as you say, your name and your institution and your role at the institution. I also want to ask you, what is the type of environment, as you introduce yourself, what is the type of environment that had to exist for you to develop your agency as a leader, as a faculty leader on your campus? So please answer that question as you introduce yourselves.
I'm Dr. Ave Latte. I am one of the 3 education faculty members at Brookdale Community College in New Jersey, and we are one of the 19 community colleges in the state. When I think about my agency and my leadership, I have to share that it's a quiet agency. I'm not in front of a mic. I'm not in front of the pictures, but I'm there in collaborative ways across the campus. I think part of my role is the agency that my students place me in, because they ask me to create the pathways for them to achieve their goals. And so I'm there to advocate for them. I work across the campus with a variety of different areas so that my students and their students can succeed. And that's where I find my agency and my strength. Thank you.
Thanks, Ave.
I'm Kara Battle from Durham Technical Community College in Durham, North Carolina, one of 58 community colleges in North Carolina. I teach anatomy and physiology, and I also serve in the role of Associate Dean for Arts and Sciences. The way that I think my agency was developed was through the support of my administration and my colleagues who believed in me and saw something in me even at times when I didn't see it myself, and supported my development by giving me opportunities to develop leadership skills, and then giving me, by going to conferences, by going to leadership trainings, and supporting me there, and allowing me some opportunities to show my leadership skills at the college. The root of everything that I do associated with the college is the students and their success, and doing things that will help them reach their goals and their aspirations.
Great, thank you, Betsy. Good morning. I'm Betsy Christensen. I'm an adjunct instructor in the English department at Delta College, and recently was recruited, I guess is the word, to participate in an ATD grant-funded project focused on engaging faculty. The original grant is engaging adjunct faculty, but we've kind of omitted that word from our language, and I'm kind of the lead on that project right now. I would say, I want to use a little analogy for you. I've been adjunct teaching. I took some time off as a stay-at-home mom. And we've got this little office in the English department, which we're very thankful to have, where about 6 faculty can fit and work. And over the years, I have started to refer to us as the island of misfit toys. And we've all ended up on the island for different reasons, and I'm sure you all know what those reasons may be. But this grant for us has really been kind of like Santa Claus, the opportunity to get off the island and have some recognition and some voice in the process. So while I myself have been recognized by our chair and that she has the faith in me to be part of this process, as have others, including the team that I work with and our administration, I really consider my role more representing that island and to help us all to figure out where our place is, whether it is maintaining the adjunct status, which I think for many of us it will be, but a significant number of our adjuncts run very parallel to what our students are describing. I've had conversations with faculty who have $100,000 in student debt and no way to pay that back, and they're not sure where their next meal may be coming from or where their rent's coming from, and they're working at 3 or 4 campuses, and some of them are teaching 26 credit hours a semester just to maintain themselves. So it's a hardy task that we take seriously, and so I'm glad to be recognized to be part of that discussion.
Thank you. You will notice that we're missing one of our colleagues, Isabel from Miami-Dade College. She fell ill this morning, so we just want to send her our good message about hopefully she feels better soon, but she's here in spirit with us. So let's, Betsy, since you did talk about the islands and and the isolation, why don't we have that conversation first about moving the dialogue from my work, which can be very isolating, to our work to support student success and learning. Let's have the conversation about what you've been able to do with the project that you just mentioned earlier. That would be wonderful.
Okay. Briefly, the project was conceived as a team teaching concept. That's what we went with at the beginning. But what we discovered very early on was that we wanted to remove the language. Tia spent a lot of time this morning talking about words and language and the impact of those words and language. And I can tell you as a professional writer, words matter a lot. And so we really wanted to omit 2 critical words from our language, one being adjunct. We really reference ourselves as faculty, and it's been kind of fun to watch that across the board as I speak with people on campus because they start catching themselves, you know. And while certainly there is a distinction between full and adjunct faculty, and there needs to remain that, when we're in the classroom, we all have the same role. So that was one really important word that we wanted to change. And the other was mentor. We have had the privilege of working with CCRC as part of our grant project, and surprising things came out of a survey that they did with us. One of those things that came out was the average age of our adjunct faculty within the English and Math department, which are our 2 focus groups right now. The average age is 52. By the time we reach 52, I'm thinking we don't really need a mentor as much as we need to have some opportunity to work together. And again, that's a generalization because certainly we have younger faculty, but we wanted to move away from the language of mentor because even new faculty, novice faculty as we're referencing them, bring so much to the table. I have been in education for 25 years, and I think I do a pretty good job in the classroom, and I like what I do, and I think I bring a lot of value, but when I have been working recently with some of the faculty in our learning circles, the things that they know and that they can do naturally with like technology. Like this morning I tried to take a picture with my phone, I couldn't figure it out. You know, those kind of things, and they're so skilled and it's just natural to them. And boy, would I like the ease of using a clicker when I talk, and it's just not part of my repertoire because I have not used it. So we really want to recognize the value of everybody on the table. So in order to do that, we wanted to think about what has to happen before we make it into the classroom together. How do we really build trust in one another and, importantly, respect for one another, so that there is no longer that, well, I'm a full-time person, so I know more than you do, and you're an adjunct person, so you need my help and guidance. That's pretty simplistic, but that's kind of the feel that you get. And when you're in your 50s, which, not yet, but when you're in your 50s, you don't need to hear that, right? Much like our students don't need to hear things like you're an at-risk student. Who wants to be an at-risk student, you know? And so we tiered on some strategies, and the one that we found through workshops like this was faculty learning circles. And the concept was really pretty basic, just getting faculty together on a regular basis to talk and chat and learn from one another. And at first I thought to myself, ATD is not going to give us money to do that. I don't think that that's something that they want to do. But when we worked with John and Rachel and the rest of the group, we found that they were willing to do that. And so we are in the early process of that idea. We're about 2 months into our learning circles. And I can tell you that it is fabulous, and it is doing exactly what we were hoping. And we were anticipating our faculty team teaching to start in the fall. But we are so excited and have made such really good connections that we're going to start those in spring. We're going to pilot a couple. And importantly, those groups don't necessarily include a full and a part-time. I'm going to be team teaching with, I call him my mini-me. His name is Donnie Winter, and he's brand spanking new out of grad school. And he and I have connected really well. And so the two of us are going to collaborate and partner a class. And then we have a math unit that just happens to be full and part-time. But we're going to see where it goes from there. But we're hoping that that trust will be part of the success of the next step.
Yeah, I think that sounds wonderful. I mean, the idea of connecting the faculty learning circles and then dismantling the whole hierarchy when you're actually doing the work, which is so important, is that bringing the space together where collaboration can actually thrive in a way which is going to be supportive to the work moving forward. And Kara, I just want you to build a little bit on that, from moving the conversation from my work to our work, but really focusing in on intentionality. I know that you've done that, a lot of that work at Durham, and tying it to the larger vision for student success and the larger vision that you're doing with the ATD, with the work that you engage with.
So a couple of projects that we have at Durham Tech are collaborations with faculty and staff. One of the projects is called FIGS, Faculty Staff Interest Groups. And this is an opportunity for faculty from across disciplines, part-time, full-time, and staff, to participate in four-person team groups with the goal of improving teaching and learning in a particular course or a particular discipline. We have a teaching learning system that we call the TLC that supports this activity. We were awarded a Press for Completion grant in 2012 and 14 that supported this work, and we've continued to do this and to have support for the people who are participating in the form of a small stipend for the participants. The lead person gets a little bit more than the team members. We also, a couple of years ago, started Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, which we refer to as SOTL. And this is an opportunity, again, for part-time or full-time faculty, usually 2 members per cycle, to delve into some research or project that they're interested in doing to focus on students' success. They have full-time faculty has an 8-hour release time for the first semester that they're doing the research. Then they have the second semester to implement the project, and then the third semester to report their results to the campus. This allows faculty time to make significant changes to their teaching practices. And all of these things are linked to our strategic plan and the goals of our strategic plan. Specifically with the SOTLs, they're linked to goal number 3, which I'm going to read. Students will experience excellence, consistent teaching in a variety of learning environments. And also our goal number 9, employees will choose Durham Tech first because we create and sustain a great college working environment by offering a structure through which instructors can refine their professional skills. So the work that we're doing at Durham Tech is directly tied to our mission and our strategic plan. And with this SOTL project, though part-time faculty cannot get release time, they do get a stipend at the end of their project to support the work that they've been doing.
So I hope you're all hearing some of the ideas and the concepts and the strategies that we're putting out for you. Is that what Kara is talking about here is that you cannot create the faculty development models, you cannot create the work that's going to support faculty innovation in the classroom without tying it to the larger vision, a strategic vision for student success and learning. Because that's what happens when we have those silos that we all hear so much about, where you're doing your project over here, you're doing your project over here, this person's doing them. It needs to be integrated and connected with intentionality. And since, Kara, you mentioned the idea of doing research and focusing in on teaching and learning, let's move over here to Ave, who is from Brookdale Community College, and they have been doing some work on scaling high-impact practices across multiple departments, and it has a strong research and evidence-based component.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, by the way. So at Brookdale Community College, we were challenged by a grant to impose high-impact practices in the classroom. So when we first learned about it from the education department, I said, well, I always do high-impact practices all the time. It's just the way I teach. Educators have to train students to become teachers, and so we want them to see effective teaching. So in our classes, we do mind mapping, and we have internships, which are really very popular for our students. There's intensive writing, and then we use technology in a variety of ways. And then in the third year of the grant, we were challenged to bring those high-impact practices across the campus. My first inclination was to reach out to the math department, mostly because, as I shared with you earlier, my students are challenged by math many times. They believe that they're not good at math, and their self-concept about their success in math classes is very low for the most part. And so they do the worst thing possible. They delay taking math classes until the end of their degree, and so they really don't feel successful. I did reach out to the math area. I had a few people in math, a few faculty who knew me, and we collaborated over the summer to see how we can affect some changes in math. Math in our area has been dedicated to collaborations in the classroom, so we had a good start. And what we developed was in 2 areas, our math for the liberal arts students and our statistics course. And what they did was created projects along global issues and global initiatives. This was a college-wide initiative using UNICEF data sets. So the students were engaged, for example, in math and liberal arts in their first unit of study on sets and logic to use these global initiatives. They would research and go out onto the internet, work with peers to collaborate to understand how these factors influence the nations and the national concerns. In statistics, the students used the data sets for correlation study, where they would determine the relationships amongst the various factors. And what struck us were the outcomes. We collected data and did correlation study on student success. We measured student success through completion of courses, retention rates, and particularly for our education students who have to have an overall GPA of 3.0 or better in order to get teacher licensing. We were looking at least a C or better in those courses. So what we found was in the math for liberal arts, of the 184 students who are in the course, 90% of the students received a B or better in that program if they participated in the project, which was really stunning for us. what we also found were some of the comments that the faculty made about the students, and I'm just quoting. Some of the faculty said, well, you know, the students are typically shy about talking math in class, but in this collaborative exercise, they were using math in terms of messing about with the data, if you would, sharing data and conversation around math, finding a trustworthy friend in math, which was exciting to hear. They were open and motivated to discuss their relationships that they had found. So that was very exciting. In the statistics class, and I want to share with you that in both of these courses, a typical success rate is around 50 to 50%, 50 to 55%. So, but in the statistics class, of the 210 students who participated in the project, we had a 71% completion rate of a C or better, which was stellar. Now let me contrast that with students who did not want to participate in the project. In the math for liberal arts, only 17% were able to get a C or better. In the statistics class, only 13% were able to get a C or better. So those high impact practices of messing around with the data, working with one another, trusting math to be the language that shares their outcomes, and then believing in their outcomes because math provide that language was powerful for us. Faculty also shared that it helped the students learn their concepts more deeply, that using real-world data supported their relationship with math analysis and math outcomes, and that students helping each other maintained their success in the class. And we were very excited about that.
That's great. Thanks, Ivy.
Thank you.
So as I said earlier, you have to examine whether or not a practice is actually high impact. Don't call it high impact until you have the evidence. And it's tied to students' learning gains and their performance measures and their outcomes to make that practice specifically high impact. I want to turn, Betsy, I'm going to start with you. I'm following a pattern here. I'm going down, going around here. Is to really, now let's talk about the culture for innovation. What needs to happen on the campuses to promote faculty innovation? What needs to happen for the, I don't know if it's from leadership, it's from support mechanism. Carrie, you mentioned a little bit about incentives and providing stipends for same. What needs to happen to promote faculty as leaders in the change process?
Wow, I don't know if I can field that question so well because we're early on. So what I can tell you is we've grounded our work in 3 words because we're talking about language. And the words that are important to us are collaboration, leadership, and ownership. And I can tell you that those words came out of work that our group did, but as I've worked with our faculty and administration and staff across the board at Delta, those words seem to generate quite a lot of interest. Ownership being one of them, because I'm sure like other campuses, we've struggled with enrollment over the past few years. And so there is a need by administration to control cost. I understand that. My husband owns a company. I get it, right? So there's a need to do that, and there's been a lot of top-down decisions that I believe, I don't know because I wasn't there for this decision making, but I believe were made because it was a way to save the college and to be able to educate students in the best cost-effective way that we can. And to that end, there's been a lot of ownership stripping, or at least a perceived indication that that's happened. And so putting this back in the hands of faculty, and it really truly is in the hands of all faculty, which is important. And we have a small group right now. Less than 20 of us are actually active in this process, but we are seeing really good things to the point where, and this is a true story, walked down the hallway the other day and I actually had 2 adjuncts, not attack me, but were pretty interested in talking to me in an aggressive kind of way. They wanted to know how did they get on board, you know, how could they become part of what we're doing. And it was fabulous. And the same is true about full-time people. We have people just stopping in. I had somebody stop in my office the other day because I got an office now. It's kind of fun to have my own office. Although I miss the island, I go back once in a while. But I have full-time faculty stopping in. One stopped the other day. She just wanted to see my office, but I don't think that's what her intention was. We sat down and talked a little bit about what's going on. So I think there's a little bit of buzz going on campus among faculty and what we're doing, and even students, because I teach technical writing. I have talked and modeled this grant project in class, so they're really interested in what's going on and asking good questions. And I've met with a variety of staff and administration all the way up to the president. I don't know if you were in my group session yesterday with the president. Right, 6 months ago, I was just an adjunct. Yesterday, I got to back the president up in a conference. It was kind of fun and cool, right? So those are kind of opportunities that we are learning and sharing, which is important with one another. We made it a point on our team to make sure that every member of our team, even those who are not comfortable sitting in front of people and talking, maybe on a more downscaled place, but that they're getting those opportunities because that goes to their resume as well. So we're really trying to be cognizant and intentional in the things that we're doing. And the other words that have propelled us into what we're working on, language, which I've already spoken about, purpose. We all know that this work will go to what we do in the classroom and make us stronger and get those closed doors that we tend to have in isolation as teachers, to get those opened and receptive to people coming in and talking and thinking. And I have to give a significant amount of credit to the newer faculty, the novice faculty, because that's very scary for them. And I understand that. It's not been that long since I was a newer faculty, 20-some years, but still not that long in the course of my life. And I'm remembering what that was like to have somebody in the classroom with me, and they're inviting us in, which is amazing that they want that kind of involvement. And so purpose is really important, and then importantly, fun. Because people are saying, how are you getting people to want to do this? And right now it's grant funded for sure, and we're looking at moving towards incentives, which is one of the pieces that we're thinking about but haven't designed. But right now, fun seems to be the piece. Cookies and lemonade help, but fun, that the people who are involved want to be part of this strange clique of people that are trying to do something from the grassroots up. So those are the things that early on we're working towards. We're not at data yet, but that's what we're hoping will engage us to want to make change.
So I'm going to do something that they're going to probably get me for later, but again, like I said, I'm leaving right after this, so I can do this. So we're talking about the positive picture. So those of us who have been on campus and we've worked and we've been in faculty meetings, they're going to be naysayers. There will be those that do not want to have the conversation about innovation and creativity and changing their courses or doing that. Can you say a little bit about how you deal or how you engage those people who are not going to be your immediate champions? Because right now we're talking to the champions. The people who are here, you're here because you're the champions of the work on your campus, but I guarantee you that when you go back and you share the work that you've learned here, not everyone's going to be saying, yes, I want to do it. It's exactly what I want to do. I want to completely redesign my courses. I want to do this. They're not going to jump on that. And they're going to say, equity, what are we talking about? We're going to have the conversation about equity and inclusion. This is what we're going to talk. Now we're moving into the real talk part. So if you haven't read the book by Paul Hernandez from Lansing Community College about real talk, you need to read that. This is a real talk part of the conversation, because we need to be honest with what happens when we hit barriers or we go up against people who are saying, I'm not going to do this work and I'm not going to engage. How do you deal with that as faculty leaders on your campus?
So I think one way to deal with it is to show them, to actually develop a project that is focused on student success, show the data that supports that project, if it's working, if it proves to be working, and go back to those faculty members or staff members and say, this data shows that by doing A, B, and C, our students were more successful in these courses. And then they can't dispute the evidence, the data, and then try to get them on board that way. We do have naysayers who, no matter what you say, no matter what idea you present, they've always done it a certain way and they're not going to change. So I think showing them evidence that you can make changes and they are good for students and they contribute to their success is one way to kind of bridge that disconnection with them.
I think so too. Ave, that's
I just want to add also that the faculty speak to one another. So the faculty that worked with us on this high impact practice in mathematics got a lot of attention out of it and started saying positive things about students in their classes. It wasn't that the student didn't succeed on the test or they weren't listening lecture. It was about the student was messing about in this data. The student was asking the question instead of what is that or can you give me the definition? The student was asking the question, what if I compare this relationship to that? Or what if my personal theory around poverty is different than what I perceive in our nation? How is it look in another nation? The faculty were impressed by that. And I think talking to other faculty, they begin to change, if I could use the term, the mindset around who our students are and what they're capable of. And particularly with mathematics, that they are math thinkers. And they begin to believe, and I think that's probably what I mean about that quiet leadership. It happens probably person by person, faculty to faculty.
definitely.
I just wanted to add, probably the word that comes to my mind is safety, especially when we're dealing primarily with adjunct faculty, because early on there was some concern, and it's ongoing. There are faculty who are worried that they'll say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and because we are not union and we pretty much are given classes based on, I don't know what philosophy, it varies from department to department, but there is a concern that if I say something wrong or do something wrong, that I'm, right, and that we don't want that to happen. We saw Chinatown, they do that pretty easily there. I don't want chickens cut off. And so we have this kind of respect that's generated, and it's not just to adjuncts. I had a conversation with one of our full-timers who's relatively new to teaching, and she had a horrible thing happen to her in a meeting recently, and she came to my office just in tears. And we talked about it, and I have administration in my background, so I understand the whole gotta have a thick skin, right? But she's still thinking everything is beautiful and wonderful and should be, and and so when somebody says or does something that's offensive to her, she and so as we talked and towards the end of our was a very lengthy conversation, I said to her, you just took the first step towards that, because I was you 20 years ago when somebody did that to me, and I had me sitting there saying, listen, you're okay, let's think it through, let's do the next step. And I said, you will one day have a you sitting there with the same kind. So that exchange of expertise and experience can come in a variety of ways. And so safety is really important, because I guarantee you, this particular person, I didn't even know. I've been part of the English department for 5 years now on a part-time basis. I had never even seen her. And we've been working on this project now together and have become good friends, and so we trust each other. And I think that that's an important part of the work we're doing.
That sounds, yeah, it is very important, and thank you for being honest and for addressing a question that we didn't prep. That's always important. That's always important. I want to talk to you a little bit about accelerating broad-scale innovation across your campus, because we do need to have the conversation about acceleration. What does it mean to take the work that you're doing now as part of your ATD conversations and the teams that you're leading and in your classrooms, and scale that up so that it's pervasive across campus? What do we need to do to accelerate broad-scale innovation?
I can start.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll start, if you don't mind. I think I have an advantage because I'm an education professor, and we have quite a number of majors. Our majors in New Jersey have to carry 2 separate majors, education and a subject major. So it's pervasive that they're in other courses across the campus. So as I accelerate my conversation in math, I'm also working with the English area, or I'm working with the history people. And some of them really embrace the idea that these high-impact practices are going to make a difference in my class, that I'm going to have faith in my students, and more than that, and this is what I try to promote with them, that you need to trust your subject area, that your subject area is engaging and exciting, and what excited you about your subject area should excite your students as well. And so they need to understand that it is going to provide the context from which they can teach, and that if they apply high-impact practices, again, they're going to reframe their thoughts around who their students are and what they're capable of doing. That's
great. And I know that we're running, I'm getting the sign from Rachel, so I just want to ask one more question and then give the panelists an opportunity to make closing comments. I ended the presentation that I did on equity, and I want to raise that question because, Kara, I know that we had a conversation about this, and Betsy and Ave, we talked about it last night at dinner as well, is that what does it mean for you to help build faculty capacity to be equity-minded practitioners? That's the work of Estella Ben-Simone at the Center for Urban Education at the University of Southern California. So what does that mean for us to help build the capacity of educators to be equity-minded?
So I think it's having a conscious thought about the things that we do in the classroom, the practices, the policies, and realizing that though everyone may be at the table, they may not have the same view. I was in a presentation yesterday from Houston Community College that had a great cartoon about everyone being at the game, but everyone couldn't see the game. So equity was giving the resources so that everyone could actually see the game at different, they were different heights. And so I think we need to recognize that students are individuals. We need to get to know our students, and to know them is to best serve them, and not just who they are based on their scores and their GPAs, but who they are as whole people holistically.
Yeah, that is so true. We need to make sure, just like I started earlier, our student stories tell us something about the work that we need to do, and we need to stay focused on that and keep that at the core of what we're doing. And it's okay to have difficult conversations and to have difficult dialogues. It's having those conversations that will move us move to the needle on student success so that we can address the inequities. I want to give you the opportunity to all make closing comments, final thoughts, aha moments maybe that you've experienced here at the conference so far. So I will start with Betsy and then move this way.
I'm just honored to be part of the discussion here, and I must say I was most moved by the students who shared this stage with us, and I'm honored to have shared this stage after they're here. And yesterday, a poem resonated with me because I'm from Pittsburgh as well. And the idea of being from a city that bleeds black and gold blood really has stuck with me. And I really have been thinking about that and the fact that what we do impacts students no matter what our role at the college is. When we get into that classroom, that student is counting on us to help bring out their poetry. And it's really, really an important role to play. And so that's what I've been most impacted by.
Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah.
In prepping for this panel, I realized how much my college is doing that is very intentional and very student-focused. And though we're doing a lot with our faculty groups, we have councils that support our infrastructure and lend to policy and procedure changes, but there's so much more that we still need to do to get faculty engaged and knowing their students and being able to make decisions based on who their students are. So that was my kind of aha moment.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to share with you that who I am today is because of all those who thought deeply about teaching and learning before me. And I would like to quote David Hawkins, who is a philosopher, physicist, and a constructivist. And he says, good teaching is hard work, that it is inordinately demanding on us, and that oftentimes it's socially unrewarded. But its value, though it may not be recognized by everyone, is always accepted by our learners.
Thank you. I just want to say on behalf of Rachel and myself and for the work that you're doing, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And being part and being the leaders that we hope that you can, I see the inspiration and I see in your eyes, I mean, you may not be able to see this, but I see the deep commitment and your energy and your passion for students and for the work that you're doing. And I say, it is contagious. And I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you all. Many of you are faculty members in the room. Thank you all for joining us this morning. And I think that we're going to turn it back over to, I'm waiting for we're going to a session? Are we going to a session? Yes, so thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed this morning's conversation, and please enjoy the next concurrent session. Thank you.